Welcome to another episode of
The Epic Family Road Trip.
The Epic Family Road Trip. Welcome to another episode of The Epic Family Road Trip. Welcome to another episode of The Epic Family Road Trip. And in the meantime, we'll see you down the road.
Hey guys, today we are doing something different. We are taking a break from the beautiful island and we're back in our Rossmönster truck, and we're just gonna head down a logging road somewhere here in Ontario and find a place to camp, hopefully. Right now there's snowbanks really high on either side, so I was looking at a spot and I'm like, there's no way we could possibly back over that bank. These have been plowed all winter, so there's layers of ice and snow. So we'll hopefully find something up ahead, and we're just going to head back into the wilderness, set up the truck, and have a comfortable night, hopefully. In minus 20, it's still the very cold part of the winter, at least minus 20 Celsius every night. But I think we'll be fine in the truck. And for us, it's a bit of a practice run for Iceland, and someday we want to do some more Arctic driving, maybe take the truck up to Tuktoyaktuk, retracing our steps with the Jeep, but this time in the winter, which would be an adventure for sure. So yeah, a bit of a winter testing grounds with our truck. We've camped all over Canada, as you've seen, and the States, and we spent all last winter in it, but we're in Arizona, so this is the opposite end of the spectrum. That was nice and warm. This is going to be cold, but the truck is designed for it, and we're going to test that out. We're also going to talk a bit about the Rossmönster truck, because it's been over a year now. We got the truck in November of 2023, and so now we've had it for a year and 3 months, and we've driven a lot of miles, a lot of kilometers, all over the southwestern US and up into the Pacific Northwest, and then we did Canada from coast to coast, all the way from the far northwest part of Vancouver Island to Cape Spear in Newfoundland. So we've been able to test it under all kinds of conditions. So we're going to answer any questions you've had for us over the last year about the truck, and just let you know what we like. And if there's anything, question we get a lot is there anything else you would have added on now that you've spent some time in it? So buckle up, we're going for a ride. So thankfully we found this spot. This road is not often plowed, but it's plowed now, which is really nice. And there's a little turnaround here that they plowed out, which works perfectly for us. There doesn't seem to be a lot of or any activity other than the plow going through on this road, so we didn't see any fresh tracks or anything. So I think this is a perfect spot for the night. We're gonna get all set up here. We haven't used the truck since our trip, since we got back from Newfoundland for camping. So although, you know what, the boys spent 2 weeks or a week and a half when they couldn't get on the island living in the Rossmönster truck. Carol and I haven't been in there for a bit, so we're just refamiliarizing ourselves with everything. We've got the heater on in there. Temperatures are dropping this time of night. It gets cold, but we're toasty and warm inside, and we might make a fire before it gets too dark and too cold. Just stand around the fire for a bit, and then we'll retreat to the warmth of the camper.
Imagine staying up here with only a fire. Like back in the day.
You'd have to dig a shelter. The snow, others is insulated. Yeah, you can dig yourself a shelter pretty quick. Good morning. Well, we've pulled out of camp. We had a nice toasty warm night in the camper, but outside it was at least minus 20 Celsius. Got even colder with the wind chill, but we had a beautiful night. So it was a successful test of winter camping in the Rossmönster. Hey guys, so we're back at the island after a wonderful camp trip back in the wilderness there, in the cold, testing the Rossmönster for cold weather camping, like minus double digits. It probably got to minus 25 overnight, and we were super comfortable. So that opens up a lot of doors for us in terms of doing some, maybe winter Arctic expeditions at some point, which has always been scary for us. But with this truck, it looks like we've got the right vehicle for it. But we wanted to spend a bit of time and just talk about our vehicle. We get a lot of questions. How do you like it? How's it changed your methods of travel? Has it closed any doors or opened any doors? So we're going to spend a bit of time and just review our experiences with the truck after traveling extensively for the last year throughout a lot of the US and right across Canada. It's been a year and 3 months, I think, since we got the truck, and we were down in Colorado, picked it up at the Rossmönster headquarters. We had gone to look at it while it was being built, but we kept it quiet. We didn't want to let everyone know what we were getting yet at the time, but it was just really in its just the shell was there. Yeah.
Thanks for everything.
Of course, we're so excited for you guys.
All right, guys, the moment has come. We've got the paperwork all signed and taken care of. We've gone through the vehicle in detail with Phil and learned how to use it properly. So we're excited about that. There's nothing left to do but to hop in and drive away. So the first question we will address is the whole thing about how much it costs to buy an expedition vehicle. Yes, it's a big investment, But Rossmönster is priced quite competitively. If you look at some of the competitors, you know, they can be insanely expensive. And just go look at Rossmönster and talk to them about their price point. We think it's quite competitive for the quality of vehicle that you're getting. But along with that, you know, when you're buying an expedition truck, it's almost like you're buying a cottage or a vacation place, but it's a cabin on wheels. We happen to live on a lake, but if we say we lived in the city and we said, man, we want to get a place that we can escape the city, we'd get something like this possibly and sit on a beautiful lake. But with a truck, you can drive it anywhere and park beside a beautiful lake, you know, and we've been able to do that all over North America, and it's just been incredible. So the scenery is always changing, and so if you think of it like a cottage on wheels, the price is pretty reasonable, right?
Like, it's pretty cool right now. We could go and head to Arizona.
we could go to Florida and you know, see the tropics. We could go to Arizona. We've been able to camp in the mountains, on the beaches, in the wilds of North America and be comfortable. So yes, it's a big investment, but when you think of it that way, you know, it's an escape, and it's an amazing escape. It's like taking everything, the comforts of your cottage, but just being able to choose what lake you want to camp by or what mountain. So that's kind of how we look at it. So the next question we get asked a lot is going from Jeeps to the Rossmönster, did it change your way of traveling, or did it change the adventure, or does it restrict you at all, or anything like that? Well, to us, the answer to that is no, it hasn't restricted us at all. In fact, it's opened a lot of doors.
Well, now we can go out there, stay out there longer, and we're comfortable doing it. Where before, like, I loved our time in rooftop tents, and I loved I loved that chapter of our lives, like, so much. When I think back, I don't have one regret or one, like, oh wow. A lot of that though is like, wow, remember that big sandstorm that came and just like right when we were cooking dinner, so the whole thing, we were just covered in sand, or like snow in rooftop tents, or rain, downpours for
3
like
days of straight rain.
Yeah.
Morning from rainy Kentucky. My goodness, did we get rained on last night. Step one on a rainy day, everyone's cold and wet, get some coffee inside you.
But like with the truck, it's like, yeah, it can be really, like, we hit some pretty bad stormy weather on the coast out by we're PEI, I guess.
Yeah.
Prince Edward Islands just recently, and you wouldn't even realize it. And that's one thing that I do miss, is probably looking at the stars all the time, because you always had to go outside to go to the bathroom, but now you don't. So, but yeah, so I don't know. It's just really made it comfortable to go and travel, and we can travel so far on highways now. Like, where before in the Jeeps with, you know, big 37s on our 40s, it would just take a long time and a lot of gas, and we're actually spending less on fuel. And we're not so exhausted, and we can actually have a conversation in the vehicle.
Some of the things it's allowed us to do. So one, we did the El Camino del Diablo, you know, southern Arizona, and we hit sections of the trail that only Jeeps or side-by-sides had ever been on. And
we took a little detour.
Yeah, and we're just rock crawling with that thing, and our entire home's on the back. So we're super impressed with its ability. We're not into rock crawling. We're more into long distance travel. But if you ever got into that situation, it's very, very capable vehicle. But to answer the question about, you know, has it changed or opened any doors or closed doors? So far, it hasn't closed any doors for us. We've been able to go, and we've retraced, especially on our cross Canada trip, some really difficult trails that we did with the Jeeps years ago, and we were successful with the Rossmönster to get through there. So no restrictions yet, but in terms of doors that are open, when you're crossing a continent, for instance, you're not always going to find ideal camp spots, especially if you're going through a populated area on your way to another wilderness area. And we like to do a lot of our travel in the off season, and so campgrounds are no longer an option. For instance, the second half of our cross Canada trip, all the campgrounds are long closed at that point. October, November. So what this truck allows us to do is to just even, you know, go on Overlander and find a parking lot where people have camped for a quick overnight camp, and you can do that in comfort and safety with 4 walls. So that's been a game changer for us. And then you get up in the morning and off you go. Like in Quebec, there was very few places to camp. Southern Quebec, northern Quebec, you can camp anywhere. It's all wilderness. But on our way through, trying to get to the maritime provinces, we stopped in several spots that were just parking lots or a trailhead for a hike. And you couldn't, in the past, we could never do that because you can't pop a tent in the, in a parking lot with other vehicles around. It's just, you possibly could, but I don't think, someone would probably stop you from doing that, and it would be very, very uncomfortable. Whereas here with the four walls, you just have a wonderful sleep and you move on. So that is great, especially, as we're planning our trip possibly to Iceland and Europe and places like that. We're going to run into that where you're camped at a boat ramp or a parking lot or a trailhead, and you would definitely not be making a campfire and setting up a tent and cooking outside and all that stuff. So that's been one of the huge benefits that we've noticed so far. So another thing that has really opened doors for us is the retractable roof. For us, that's a key feature, and it's very unique to the Rossmönster. It allows you, often driving an expedition truck, you're pushing a lot of wind. It's a huge box on the back, just like driving a big motorhome or something. But with the Rossmönster, the roof comes down, so now you have a low profile, which makes it awesome for, flying down the freeway at the speed limit or faster. And it's just so slick and so efficient and so aerodynamic and fuel efficient on the highways, and quiet. So that's been a big joy for us. We end up retracing places, like coming back through Ontario with the Jeeps. We'd push as hard as we could, and it usually took about 2 or 3 days to get across. Carol and I coming with the truck, we drove 14 hours or 15 hours, and then we went, wow, we're almost home. We didn't even think of it because they're so comfortable. So that's a big one. And the other thing about the roof coming down like that, it makes a much lower profile for when you are on rough ground or sneaking into tight campgrounds or under tree branches and things like that. So, and
when you're on highways with high gusts,
right,
you're not white knuckle driving. Yeah. You're just driving normal.
We had a lot of that in the motorhome and with the Jeeps, just rocking in the wind. So this thing will cut under the wind and keep going. So that part has been huge. It also has a pass-through. We haven't had to use it much, but it's nice to know it's there. If you got up on a freezing cold morning and you didn't feel like going outside, you could just crawl through and start the truck and drive away. If you got yourself in a situation where there was you were in danger of some kind, or there's sketchy people around that you just didn't want to confront, you could crawl through, drive away. So, and
if you have a four-legged friend, Lando loves going back and forth between the cab and the back of the truck, and especially on long distances. Another thing that I really like with the pass-through is I can go back there, make us a quick lunch, or I drink a lot of water during our drives, so I always have to go to the washroom like 5 times more than Peter. But this way I can just go back there, go to the bathroom, just like in an RV, and also
while you're driving.
While we're driving. And make a coffee or say lunch. So that has really cut our time down a lot.
Typically travelers, when you punch in a destination, it says 8 hours. They add 1 hour for every 3 because of stops and all that. So anytime you can stop less, you really save time when you're trying to cover long distances. So that's been a huge feature.
Here and I, in the beginning, we were going long term, and we're getting older. That's why we wanted something, where, for me, it had a bathroom inside. Yeah. And it had hot water on demand. That was really important to me, and heaters and a comfortable bed that could fit Peter, because we would go in and try different
vehicles
and makes, and Pete was just always too tall for the bed, and it was always cramped.
So we had talked earlier about taking the comforts of home with you. I mean, there was nothing like doing the trail in Arizona, driving across rocky trails and then getting way out in the middle of absolutely nowhere and being able to just put up a roof and you're done. And everything's there. Your kitchen is stocked, your fridge is stocked, you've got all the comforts of home. So I'll just go through the features that we love. So on this one, there's 600 watts of solar on the roof. So they utilize the roof completely. There's 6 big solar panels, and then there's an air conditioning unit. There's 2 very powerful fans, which you can have one in reverse, like blowing air in, and one blowing air out if you want to ventilate, and it just creates a great ventilation. And then there's also Starlink up there. So they've used the entire real estate of the roof. But what that does is gives you power in the rear of the vehicle. So there's 600 amp hours of lithium batteries in the back, which powers everything from the water pump, the fridge, the induction stove, and the Starlinks, and all that is powered, by the sun, by the solar. But it also, as you drive, it's charging off the alternator. So that's been amazing to have that kind of power in the wilderness with you, to run all of that stuff, to charge batteries, camera batteries, whatever. So that's one of our favorite things. And then talking about water, it's got in-house, I think 40 gallons of water. All the plumbing is inside. So our truck is winterized right now because we knew it'd be sitting for a while, but if you were using it on a winter trip, you can keep the water going, unlike most motorhomes where a lot of the plumbing's on the outside, and if you get into some really cold weather, everything will freeze up.
And we've had that happen a few times.
We have. It's very expensive when you blow lines in a motorhome or your water tank. So that is a sweet feature that allows you to keep using it. And the heater, we have 2 heaters. We've got a Webasto and an AquaHot. The AquaHot is a forced air heater in there to heat up the cab, but it also is a water heater, and that allows you to have nice hot running water for showers and for doing dishes. It has an induction stove, which Carol loves to use. We love to cook outside, as you know, but man, there's some days. I mean, you think back to the Jeep days. We were in BC on Vancouver Island.
We just enjoyed an epic trail day through mud, puddles, rivers, and streams, and it's been so much fun. Right now the guys are there making a cozy fire for tonight, and I'm going to be making a warm chili to warm up everyone.
It had been raining for 3 or 4 days, and we were soaked, and Carol's out there making a chili, and the rain's falling all around the tent. You're just under that little spot. It was cold. Like Carol said, those are great memories, but as we get older, we get wiser. And now it can be pouring rain or whatever's going on outside, and we can cook and make a meal inside.
I just like how there's that option of cooking inside, no matter what the weather is.
It's super nice. So the induction stove's been great. The fridge is a mid-sized fridge, which has handled all of our needs so far for keeping our food cold. And then, like I said, there's a shower. Now, ours, if you go to Rossmönster now, a year later, they're innovative people, and they get feedback from people like us that are using them, and they're always improving. So a couple of the things you'll find, the bathrooms are a little bit bigger lengthwise, and that's a great feature, and it just gives you a little more space in there for taking a shower. But ours, the way it is perfectly comfortable, and you can do a full hot shower, and then it has a removable compost toilet. And there's all kinds of different options. The toilet that you choose is entirely up to you, but the technology keeps improving all the time. So just ask the guys there what the latest, what people are putting in them to get the latest composting toilet. Another new feature that we're noticing on the new vehicles, anything they're putting out now, is the rear windows and the side windows, I believe, are larger. They've done a little bit of redesigning to allow more window space, and that's cool. The views we've been able to park by are amazing, and thankfully we have windows all around so we can see them, but a little bit bigger, there's no downside to that, I don't think. For storage, the Rossmönster has the Molly panels on the back, so when you do have the bigger windows, they reduce the size of the Molly panels a little bit, but I don't think that affects the size of the box you can put on there. So they custom make these boxes. We just have one, and in there we have chainsaw, like electric chainsaw, and oils and tools and just stuff that we need and we don't want to have in the house.
Yeah.
But you can put 2 or 3 people.
We have a lot of like recovery gear.
Recovery gear.
We put there and on the back.
Yeah, there's a mat. If we parked on a dusty area, we could throw a mat that we keep back there.
And our outside grill is in there.
Right. Yeah, and the scuttle. Yeah. Yeah. So you can customize that and put multiple boxes back there. Whoa, Linda, you almost knocked over the camera, buddy. We just find the more storage we have, the more stuff we collect.
I'll fill it up with something.
Yeah, well, it doesn't take long. So if we had 3 boxes, they'd all be full to overflowing. I talked a bit earlier about the dual heaters we have, the Webasto and the AquaHot. And the cool thing about that, the way they designed this truck, is those are fueled by diesel. So they are plumbed right into your oversized, huge diesel tank. So you don't have to worry about multiple sources of fuel. And that, the more you travel, the more you find out that gets to be a real pain. Back years ago when we had the motorhome, we had to have a mix of diesel for the vehicle, propane for the heaters, and gas for the generator. And so you have to go and find, not every fuel station has all 3. So sometimes you're running around trying to find them. with this, it's a single fuel source of diesel, and everything operates off of that or off of the battery power. So it makes it really easy and convenient.
And another thing that Pete and I, when we were in the search of our next vehicle, was finding one that had hard walls all the way up.
Right.
We didn't want any tent fabric. So that's another. And then when we found Rossmönster, we're like, oh my goodness, this is everything that we ever wanted and the pass-through. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I love how when the roof goes up, it's just exposed as hard walls, like Carol said. And some vehicles will have tent fabric and all that, which is, I'm sure it's fine, but this is so much better.
Yeah, because when we are traveling for our style, we're kind of going between like really hot and then we can go to snow. And we wanted it even like what we were talking about before, even the plumbing, everything that we didn't have to worry about anything. Yeah. So that was something top on our list, that it would be warm all the time or it would keep us cool in the high, like the desert heat.
And we've had that like in, I think we went down into the canyons in Utah and it was 110 during the day and it went down to like 98 at night, but we were able to flick on our AC unit, cool the whole cab down to just extremely comfortable temperature.
We kind of felt guilty. We're sitting here with an AC going on.
In the middle of, what was that called? The San Rafael swell.
Yeah, it took us a while to actually turn it on. We were like, let's just use it.
Yeah.
But we were a little
At first
bit
we're like,
shy.
well, we're used to roughing it. No, we thought, you know what? We have it. Turn it on. Temperature went down to a nice 72 degrees and we slept like babies. So that's another sweet feature. So the other question we get a lot is there anything that now that you've used it for a year that you would add and that you don't have? So, I mean, it's hard. That's a hard one to answer in some cases because, I don't know, we have more than we need. It's so well equipped, but you've come up with the backsplash.
Oh yeah. But that was all like when we were building it, I didn't think of it. And
I think it's standard now on all vehicles.
So I would just put a backsplash and now they have them, or they probably did have it as an option, but I didn't think of it because we were just so excited. Is a handle for when you're getting in and out of the vehicle. I was thinking I didn't want anything sticking out of the sides because when you're going down narrow trails and things like that, I didn't want things catching on it.
But they've got a very low pro sturdy handle now that's on. I think it's standard on all vehicles now too.
Oh, and another really cool thing that they have changed, and I love it, is normally we have to kind of get up into the truck and turn
the knob for lifting
the roof up, and now they have it down here, so when you open the door you can just stand there for 20 seconds and as it goes up and then go in. So I thought that was brilliant.
Seems like a small thing, but it's that would be great. Very convenient.
But it's kind of like it works fine both ways.
It works either way, but it just shows you that the team there, Luke and Ross and Phil and the whole team there, they're innovating all the time and they're improving. And so what we call the best overland vehicle you could ever get, and it's allowed us to do some amazing travels together, and we have many more adventures ahead. Hopefully, if we can get everything lined up, I think we've decided since last week or the week before we started talking about do we do Alaska or Iceland, but if we can get everything lined up, we're thinking of doing Iceland and then Scandinavia, and we'll decide what we do after that. But that's very exciting. I'm starting to get excited about it. As we sit here in the frozen north, we've had an amazing winter up here, and it's not over yet. We're getting close to March.
That's the best time.
March is the best time. It's I say that about every month, but it's after going through a very cold winter, and this was a real winter. In fact, we're only able to really sit out here the last couple of days. Before that, it was so frigid. We were kind of housebound, or we're all bundled up driving our snowmobiles and stuff. But it's starting to get into that March feel where the temperatures aren't so harsh anymore, so brutal. Yeah, and we're excited about that. But Iceland and Europe and the rest of Scandinavia just sounds so exciting, and we're just looking into all the details and shipping and everything we need to know before we go.
And that actually brings up a good question that some people have asked us: why choose a Ford?
Right. Yeah. So the Rossmönster can be put on any of the big three, any one-ton vehicle. It could be a Dodge, Chevy, or Ford.
GMC.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Ram, GMC, or Ford, right? Those are the three big ones. As long as it's a 1 ton or a 3500 or 350. But we have been super happy with the Ford so far. I didn't have a lot of experience with Fords, but
we only had, when you had your business, it was only Dodges.
back here we did mostly Dodge, and I'm not sure why. I wasn't really the vehicle guy, but the Ford has been just an extremely robust vehicle. And, you know, Rossmönster puts upgrades on the suspension, and we've got 37-inch wheels, tires, and Carly suspension, heavy-duty front and back bumpers, all kinds of really cool stuff that makes it even better. But it's just been amazing, both off-road and on the highway. So not knowing that much about which vehicle to choose, we listened to a lot of people and got a lot of recommendations for Ford, because it's a reliable vehicle, but also because of the sourceability of parts internationally. And, you know, Toyota's probably the easiest to get parts anywhere in the world, but Ford it might be second, and they do have Fords in Africa and places like that. So that was a big reason why we went with Ford as well. So, but like I said, they will build it on any 1-ton truck. So hopefully that answered any questions you had. If you have more questions, please put them in the comments below, and we'd be happy to type an answer back to you. Lastly, I'll just say, if you get a Rossmönster truck, you better like people, because every time we go shopping, every time you go shopping with your truck or park somewhere, somebody's going to come up to you and say, wow, tell me about that truck. We get it all the time, no matter where we are. We've been able to meet so many wonderful people. It's like having a puppy dog, you know. If you have a dog or a pup and you walk into a crowd, everyone's going to flock to it. The Rossmönster is so unique, and it looks so adventurous. We get people coming up to us all the time, so we're making all kinds of new friends that way. People that are dreaming of going on a big trip, or they're about to, and they're, you know, making a decision on what vehicle to use, or they've just never even seen that concept yet. All they know is, like when we started, all we knew was motorhomes, right?
Well, motorhomes are just really, really big expedition trucks.
Right.
And we would look at that and we go, wow, that's really cool. But I love how, that's one thing I was telling Pete. I'm like, when we're traveling, I want to go through a town, and yes, you get noticed, but then it's like you can just, it's not like this huge, massive thing going down.
You don't rumble down Main Street. Yeah, you can kind of sneak through. Yeah.
And I wanted the layout to be, for Pete and I, really basic and really off-grid, like so that we could stay out longer beside the river if there's good fly fishing, or if there's good hiking, or we just found a beautiful spot that we can, you know, just enjoy for a lot longer. Like, I mean, we have been able to stay at places for a long time.
As long as you want, until you run out of food. I mean, with water storage, and then we have a guzzle H2O, which allows us to draw water, as you've probably seen if you've watched our videos.
That is one of my favorite things.
We can draw water out of a river or a pond or a lake, and it filters it right to pure drinking water. And we fill our tank with drinking water so we can drink right out of the tap.
And the fact that we don't have to worry about the septic anymore.
Right.
That was one thing Pete and I, after our RV life, motorhome life, I was like, I don't want to have to
black
deal with
water
that.
and gray water issues.
Yeah.
Which is an issue with an RV or motorhome, because you have to pull into a dump station to get rid of the black water. And sometimes they're hard to find, especially in the off season. With this truck, it's a composting toilet, so you don't have to worry about it. And you can look up composting toilets and find out how they work and everything. And then the gray water from washing dishes or taking a shower can just be dumped on a gravel spot away from a water source, because we only use Camp's soaps for both dishes and showers that are biodegradable, and they have vegetable-based cleaning agents rather than petroleum-based cleaning agents, so they're not harmful to the environment. And so you just dump that the way you would throw out wash the dishes and throw the bucket out. So it makes it so much more convenient and allows you to travel longer without having to put in. So all in all, wrapping up the whole story, this truck has been a game changer for us, and we see many more years of use with it. And hasn't crimped our style at all, has allowed us to go to amazing places, but all with safety and comfort, and that's the main thing. So hopefully you got some good information about our cabin on wheels, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. We'd be happy to try and answer them for you. And in the meantime, we'll see you down the road.